Hi, I'm Mindy. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing a try a chapter tag for all of the unread Book of the Month books that I still have. I had a Book of the Month subscription all the way through 2017, and I've read most of the books, but there are still 7 books that I have not read from 2017, and I thought if I started reading these books, maybe some of them would really call to me and I can put them, prioritize them to get them read off my shelves, or maybe I won't like the writing at all and I can get rid of them. I'm going to try to put them into an order of ones I want to read the soonest to the ones that can wait and see if there's any to get rid of as well. These are the books, 7 of them. I rarely only got one book with my Book of the Month. I usually would pick books for them to send along with the one Book of the Month that I chose. So it's pretty good that I only have 7 left, but still, they've been up there for years and they need to go one way or another. So I'm excited to finally try this tag that was originally created by Book Paradise back in 2015. So it's been around a while, and it's just a really good one to see if you have any interest in the books you've been holding on to. And I'm going to start with Lies She Told by Kate Hallahan. This is a thriller, and I'm not exactly sure what it is about. So I will read a chapter and I'll get back to you. Okay, I just finished the first part of Lies She Told by Kate Hallahan. There were 2 kind of prologue sections and then chapter 1. I read about the first 10 pages of the story. We start with a little bit of action. There's a man confronting this woman, Liza, about a story that she wrote, and he thinks it's true, and she writes untrue stories. She just makes them up. And the second prologue is about Liza in the office telling her idea for a story to her boss about an affair. The boss thinks it needs to be juicier. And then chapter 1 is starting a story about an affair. So it's probably the story that she's writing. So it all has to do with probably this story that gets her into trouble. It seems interesting so far, and I definitely want to check out the rest of this book. We shall see how it will stack up against the rest of the books. The next one that I'm going to try a chapter from is Final Girls by Riley Sager. This is one that I've been wanting to read for quite a while. Riley Sager's name has been everywhere since this book came out in 2017, and I have yet to read any of his books. I think I have all of them, but I have not read one. So I'm finally going to read a chapter at least. So we shall see how this goes. Okay, so I finished the prologue and the first chapter of Final Girls, which was about 11 pages, and it starts by meeting our main character Quincy as she is escaping a very traumatic event with a killer who had killed all the other girls except her. So she's a final girl. She gets rescued. Then we see her, how she's living later on, her life, and the cop that saves her reaches out to her and they meet up, and he has to tell her that her friend, another final girl survivor, is dead. So that's a very exciting start to this book. This is even more up my alley than the first book. I'm really wanting to read this, kind of want to read it right now. But that is going to go ahead of Lies She Told in the order I want to read them. The next book that I want to check out is Since We Fell by Dennis Lee Hayne. This Dennis Lee Hayne wrote Shutter Island and Mystic River, which I have to read as well. But I've seen those movies. They're great movies and great stories. So that is why I chose this book from Book of the Month. Now, let's see how I like this one. I just finished Since We Fell by Dennis Lee Hayne, the prologue and the first section of chapter 1, which is about the first 15 pages. And this thriller seems a bit more complicated than the other two. This one is about Rachel, whose mother was a famous writer. She gets into some trouble in her life. All she wants to know from a young age is who her father is, but her mother dies without ever telling her, and she's trying to figure out who he is and not getting very far in the first part of the book. So I don't know if it will be about some of the trouble she gets into in her life, or figuring out who her father is, or both, or what it will be about. It'll probably be about her whole life. It seems really interesting. Definitely want to read this, but it isn't grabbing me quite as much as the other two. So it's going to go on the bottom of the stack. The next one I'm going to try is American War by Omar El-Akkad. And this one, I believe, is about a second civil war in America. Don't know a lot about it. I think I did at the time, but I've forgotten since 2017. So I'm going to check out the first chapter and let you know. I just finished the prologue and first couple sections of chapter 1 of American War, the first 10 pages. And I have been sleeping on this one. This book seems so good. Scary. This book is scary, and I want to read it right now. It starts with a man who is dying of cancer, telling his memories of the past decades in America. He tells of a civil war that lasted 20 years in the United States and a plague that happened afterwards, and about incredibly horrible results of global warming, oceans rising, land lost, and war starting. Like I said, very scary. And then it kind of starts from the beginning of the story and is talking about the very beginning of the Civil War. And it started with a map, and that I was looking at this map for quite a while, trying to figure it out. It's like, it looks like America, but it's not right. So, that was interesting. Then he starts telling all the circumstances that caused the United States to look like that. I want to read this right now. I want to find out the whole story. I love this kind of realistic, like scary, realistic, dystopian, post-apocalyptic kind of thing. So, yeah. Definitely going on top of the stack for that one. I didn't realize it was going to be that stinking cool. So, okay. The next book on my stack is Exit West by Masheen Hamid. I heard a whole lot about this book back 2017. It was a popular one, and somehow I got it when it was new and never read it. And now I'm going to find out what it's like. Okay, so I just finished the first few sections of chapter 1, the first 11 pages. And this is definitely an interesting, unique premise. It's about a couple of people that live in a Civil War area, and there's also someone who went through some kind of portal into another area of the world. It seems like this will be a love story. There was like the start of a little bit of a love story in here. All of those things are things I'm interested in reading more about, but it is not grabbing me as much as these other books, so I'm going to put it at the bottom of the stack. And the next book that I'm going to try is one I'm excited about, The Wonder by Emma Donoghue. I have heard so many good things about Emma Donoghue's writing, and excited to see what this one is like. Okay, so I just found out that the first chapter of The Wonder is 62 pages without any page breaks or anything. I hate that. I'm not the hugest fan of long chapters. And I hate stopping my reading when there's no page break or anything like that. I don't have enough focus to be able to do that. So I stopped after 10 pages. The book itself seems like a good one. This first chapter, we meet the main character of the nurse and are introduced to the setting, time, and place, which seems to be in the past in London. And this nurse is traveling to nurse someone, and it seems like she'll just need to help feed and wash and just taking care of someone for 2 weeks, and she's staying in a liquor store or above a liquor store. Yeah, I am interested in reading this. I wish it had shorter chapters. Goodness. Where would I put this? I think I'm going to put this... It's going to end up in the middle for me. If it had shorter chapters, it might be closer to the top. Because it was pretty atmospheric seeming, and it did draw me in. I'm going to put it fourth. And the last book I'm going to try is The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. This is a chunkster, and I don't know what this is about. I'm just going to give it a try. Okay, so I just finished the first chapter of The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. This chapter was 10 pages. That's more like it. And this is apparently going to be told from the perspective of a man who's telling his life story. And this first chapter was really enthralling. Definitely captured my attention. It was about his mother being thrown out of her small Irish town by this horrible priest, leader of the church that her family was in, because she was pregnant with him out of wedlock at 16 years old. And they kick her out of the entire town, and she has to go start her life somewhere else without her family at 16. I don't know if I want to read this huge of a book just about a boy's life growing up. But if it is as good as that first chapter, then it would definitely be worth it. So I want to read some more of this to find out if it can, if it will stay just as good as that. Where I would put it in how much I want to read it, I think it's going to go under the wonder. So, this is the ranking. Ugh. No, this is the ranking of my Book of the Month books. We have American War, Final Girls, Lies She Told, The Wonder, The Heart's Invisible Furies, Since We Fell, and Exit West. I'm going to put this one onto my If You Got It, Read It TBR, replacing Lies She Told, because I want to read this one first, and I didn't remember what this one was about either, so that'll work in that TBR to get to this year for sure. I can't wait to read this. It's so good. I'm also going to put this onto my TBR shelf because I want to read Final Girls this year very soon. The rest of these I will probably put back on my shelves to read at a later time, but now I know I do want to read all these. They all seem very interesting, and I need to get to them sooner rather than later. I hope you liked this Try a Chapter tag. If you did, you can hit like and subscribe if you are not already. And I will be back every Tuesday, Thursday, and sometimes Sunday with another book-related video. Thanks. Bye.